Have you ever looked at a company and just wondered, how did they become such a legend? While other companies, the ones with huge budgets, just kind of fade away. Well, it turns out it's not about spending more money. It's about thinking in a totally different way. So today, we're going to dive into what's called radical marketing, a philosophy built by companies that basically tore up the rulebook and created an absolute sensation. And this quote right here, it just sets the stage perfectly. I mean, think about it. It challenges the entire corporate structure we're all so used to. The big idea here is that making a real connection with people isn't some task you can just delegate to a department down the hall. Nope, it has to be the actual beating heart of the entire company, starting right from the very top. And hey, real quick, as we get ready to break all these rules, if you're getting something out of this, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and give this explainer a like. It seriously helps us make more summaries just like this one for you. All right, so what's the big problem that these so-called radicals are even trying to solve? Well, it all starts with what we're going to call marketing's big disconnect. This is the massive, massive gap between how big companies think they should sell stuff and what actually makes people like you and me care. Okay, you have to hear this story. It's incredible. Picture this. A room full of top car executives in Australia. Their car sales are in the toilet. So the president asks a super simple, honest question. He says, if you didn't work here, what car would you actually drive? And the answers? BMWs, Ferraris, Saabs. They literally called their own product a car for old people. I mean, if the people selling the car don't even believe in it, how on earth can they expect anyone else to? And that just perfectly illustrates the core problem, right? On one hand, you have traditional marketing. It's lost in all this bureaucracy, these focus groups. They're chasing this mythical average customer who doesn't even exist. And the managers? They're just focused on their next promotion, not some grand long-term vision. But then you've got the real world. And in the real world, what works is passion. It's authentic connection with actual real people. And it's an undeniable, unconditional love for the product itself. The big problem in these giant companies is that feedback from a real customer, it has to pass through like 6, 7, maybe even 10 layers of management before it gets to someone who can actually make a decision. And by the time it gets there, the message is just hopelessly distorted. It's exactly like that game of broken telephone you played as a kid. The original passion, the real meaning, it's all gone. So if the old way is broken, what's the fix? Well, let's talk about the radical alternative. And just to be clear, this isn't just a new set of tactics or a new playbook. It's a fundamental shift in mindset. It's all about being a missionary, not just a marketer. And that is the absolute key difference. See, radical marketing isn't born from a business plan or a spreadsheet. It's born from a passionate, almost crazy belief in a product. It's a philosophy that's all about creating a deep, emotional bond with customers. These guys are playing the long game. They're prioritizing growth and building something that actually means something, way over just chasing fast, easy profits. And this means their focus is completely different from the norm. They aren't just selling you a product. They're trying to build a community around it. They act like missionaries, spreading the word with this genuine enthusiasm. They are obsessed with quality, sometimes to a point that seems financially irrational. And maybe most important of all, they keep a direct, organic connection with the people they serve. Okay, so this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But how does it actually work in the real world? Let's break down let's call it the unconventional rulebook that these radical marketers actually live by. There are really 4 core principles here. First, the CEO has to be the chief marketer. The passion has to flow from the top, period. Second, the marketing team needs to be kept small and nimble. Why? To avoid that whole game of broken telephone. Third, you hire missionaries, true believers who are fanatics about the product, not just people who have a marketing degree. And finally, and this one is huge, you actually empower your customers to become your marketing department. This slide just sums up the whole difference perfectly. Traditional marketers, they're sitting in a dark room, watching a focus group through a one-way mirror, completely detached from reality. Radicals, they're out there. They're in the community, at the concerts, in the bars, in the mechanic shops. They are part of the community they serve. They're not just observing it from a distance. All right, now for the really fun part. Let's look at some proof from the field. We're talking about companies that lived by these rules and achieved legendary status because of it. Okay, first up, the Grateful Dead. This is just brilliant. At a time when bootlegging was considered the ultimate enemy, they did the unthinkable. They actually encouraged their fans to record their live shows. And the result? A massive, self-sustaining community of tape traders and evangelists that became literally the most powerful marketing engine in music history. It was an act of trust that created this unbreakable loyalty. How's this for the CEO being the chief marketer? When a Virgin Atlantic flight was seriously delayed, the founder, Richard Branson, would apparently show up at the gate himself. He wouldn't send a representative, he'd personally apologize and hand out free tickets. I mean, that is a level of personal commitment that no traditional ad campaign could ever replicate. This, right here, is the absolute definition of uncompromising quality. Ames Pet Food was on the verge of going bankrupt, but they flat out refused to compromise on their expensive, high-quality ingredients. They believed so deeply in making the best possible product that they were willing to risk the entire company for it. And that fanaticism, that's what eventually made them a leader in their category. And finally, talk about letting the product do the talking. Instead of trying to convince these skeptical IT managers with boring presentations, this data storage company, EMC, just gave them their systems to use for free for months. It was such a supremely confident move. They just knew their product was so much better that once a company tried it, they would never go back. They basically got their customers hooked. So after seeing all of these examples, how can we actually apply this radical way of thinking? Well, it's about fundamentally changing the questions we ask ourselves in the first place. And that really brings us to the core question of it all. Take a look at what you're doing and ask yourself this. Are you focused on just building a brand, a logo and a slogan? Or are you actually creating a living, breathing community? Because a brand is something you sell, but a community is something people want to belong to. So if you only take one single thing away from this explainer, let it be this. Real, effective, true marketing is an authentic, passionate connection between a company and its customers. It's something that has to be genuine. You can't fake it in a boardroom, and you certainly can't delegate it away. We really hope this gave you a new way to think about things. And if it did, please show your support by subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button. It really, truly helps us create more summaries for you. And we'll leave you with this final thought, kind of like a challenge. Forget the big, sweeping changes for a second. Based on everything you've just seen, what is one small, conventional marketing rule that you could actually dare to break tomorrow? Think about it, because that's where the revolution really begins.